Picture this. It is 6:42 in the morning.
Oh boy, the danger zone.
Right, the absolute danger zone. I am a parent of two, which means my kitchen currently looks like the aftermath of a minor milk-soaked explosion.
I can picture it vividly.
Yeah, I'm standing there literally wiping up a puddle of spilled cereal with my socked foot, trying to dodge these rogue plastic dinosaur toys.
Because stepping on a plastic stegosaurus is a unique kind of pain.
Oh, it's the worst. And at the same time, I'm staring at my phone. Because as a journalist working on incredibly tight deadlines, especially now in 2026, I have an editor messaging me in all caps.
Let me guess, a story is due.
Exactly. A story that needs to be filed in exactly 2 hours. And in the middle of this absolute daily chaos, this completely absurd thought just pops into my head.
What was the thought?
I just thought, how on earth is anyone supposed to achieve greatness in the middle of all this?
Wow. Yeah, that is the ultimate modern paradox, isn't it?
I mean, it really is.
We are surrounded by all this pressure to self-actualize, to be exceptional, to leave a legacy, yet the actual lived experience of our daily reality is mostly just trying to survive the morning routine without having a nervous breakdown.
Yes,
Yeah.
over a blinking laptop cursor or, a stubborn toddler who absolutely refuses to wear socks.
The gap between the aspiration and the reality just feels completely unbridgeable.
It really does. It feels like a massive disconnect between the messy, chaotic grind of just getting through a Tuesday and those polished, soaring success stories we constantly see celebrated.
Which is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today.
Exactly. This deep dive is for you, the listener. You might be listening to this on your commute or while folding laundry.
Or maybe you're hiding in the bathroom just trying to get 5 minutes of peace.
We've all been there. The mission today is to bridge that exact gap. We are going to explore the ultimate blueprint for success.
And we are drawing this from a legendary speech and the life philosophy of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Now, to really understand the weight of his specific blueprint, we have to start by setting the scene right.
Yeah, we have to look at his origins. Imagine the atmosphere of a grand, incredibly focused study room,
Ooh, I like that visual.
but shoot it through with the kinetic, high-stakes energy of a breaking newsroom. We are looking at a life that started in Thal, Austria in 1947.
So just after the devastation of World War II.
Right. The country is economically recovering, yes, but more importantly, it is psychologically recovering.
That makes a lot of sense. The mood must have been incredibly heavy.
Very heavy. The overwhelming societal desire across Europe at that time was just to return to normalcy.
People just craved stability.
Exactly. Stability, predictability, and quiet.
Which makes perfect sense for a generation that had just lived through absolute global upheaval. You just want the farm,
Yeah, the farm, the factory job, the reliable routine.
But that specific environment, that heavy oppressive push toward a quiet, normal life, that's exactly what triggered a young Arnold's desperate desire to escape, isn't it?
Precisely. He looked at the quiet stability his parents desperately wanted for him, and he just felt suffocated. He didn't want stability. He wanted the extraordinary. He felt this innate, burning conviction that he was meant for something massive.
Even if he had no idea what that was yet.
Right, he just knew he had to get out.
And his parents had a very specific plan for him, right?
Oh, absolutely. They wanted him to stay in Austria, marry a local girl, maybe become a police officer like his father.
Or work in a factory or something. To them, that was a good, safe life.
But Arnold recognized early on that this was their vision, not his.
Which is a fascinating psychological split when you think about it.
How so?
Well, how does a kid in a rural Austrian village in the 1950s even begin to conceptualize a life outside of that bubble?
It requires an external catalyst. What's fascinating here is how the human brain processes contrast.
Okay, unpack that for me.
His environment was offering him little farmhouses and modest practical buildings. But when he was 11 years old, he saw a documentary in school about America.
Well, right. The documentary.
And this wasn't just a travelogue. It was a visual representation of scale.
Like skyscrapers and things.
Exactly. It showed huge skyscrapers, massive high-rises, giant bridges, 6-lane freeways.
For a kid in 1950s Austria, that wasn't just a different country.
It was a different planet. It completely shattered his small-town reality.
It gave his abstract desire for greatness a physical geography.
Exactly. But it gave him the where, not the how.
Right. The how came a bit later. Let's talk about the magazine store in Graz.
This is a pivotal moment. He describes walking by a store one day after school.
He goes inside, looks around, and spots a bodybuilding magazine.
And who is on the cover?
Reg Park. For those who might not know the history of physical culture, Reg Park was a British bodybuilder.
A three-time Mr. Universe, actually.
Yeah, and he went on to star on the big screen as Hercules.
So Arnold reads this magazine, reads the article about how Reg Park trained, how he won the title.
How he transitioned into movies.
Right, and he essentially says, wow, this is it. This is the blueprint.
He decides in that exact moment he wants to be a bodybuilding champion, just like Reg Park.
Get into movies just like Reg Park and make millions of dollars.
He found a highly specific, step-by-step roadmap.
Reg Park wasn't just an inspiration. He was tangible proof of concept.
A living, breathing example of someone who had achieved the exact massive life Arnold was craving.
Exactly.
Okay, but I have to push back on this narrative a little bit.
Go for it.
Because as a journalist, I know that finding a strong lead for a story takes digging.
Oh, totally.
It takes investigation, dead ends, and a lot of active research. I hear the story about Arnold walking into a store and having an epiphany because of a magazine rack. And it sounds a bit, I don't know, cinematic.
A bit too perfect.
Yeah. Is finding a life vision really as simple as just waiting for a magazine cover to strike you like lightning?
That is exactly the right distinction to make.
Because if we tell the listener to just passively wait for an epiphany to change their life, they might be waiting forever.
No, you're entirely right, and it brings us to the neurology of how we actually form goals. He didn't just passively stumble upon it.
Okay, so what actually happened?
He recognized his blueprint because of a mechanism in the brain called the reticular activating system.
The RAS.
Yes, the RAS. It's a bundle of nerves at our brainstem that filters out unnecessary information so the important stuff gets through.
Oh, like when you buy a red car and suddenly you see red cars everywhere?
Exactly. The cars were always there, but your RAS is now prioritizing them.
Ah, so because Arnold was already fundamentally dissatisfied.
Because he was actively rejecting the farmhouse vision.
Right. His brain was primed.
Yes, his radar was actively scanning for an exit strategy.
So when he saw the skyscrapers in the documentary, and when he saw Reg Park on the cover, his mind was prepared to accept that massive input.
He didn't just find a magazine. His brain seized on the exact piece of data it had been subconsciously hunting for.
I love that. So it's not about lightning striking a passive target.
Not at all.
It's about actively walking outside with the intent to capture that energy.
Precisely.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this and feeling stuck, if you're drowning in the daily grind and don't have a vision, you have to engineer your own reticular activating system.
You have to actively investigate your own life.
We could break that down into a very clear, actionable process for the listener.
Let's do it. What's step one?
Step one is you have to forcefully expose yourself to new inputs. Look outside your bubble.
Just like that 11-year-old watching a documentary about a continent thousands of miles away.
Exactly. You cannot find a new vision if you only consume the reality immediately around you.
Read outside your industry, listen to conversations you normally wouldn't.
Travel if you can, or just explore vastly different subjects online. You have to feed the brain new raw material.
Okay, so step two then is to identify your own personal Reg Park.
Yes, you need to find a blueprint.
Not someone you want to, like single white female and copy identically.
No, just a role model who embodies the outcome you want.
Right. Like if you want to write a novel while working a full-time job and raising kids, find the author who actually did that.
Exactly. If you want to start a local business, find the entrepreneur who built one from scratch in a similar economic climate.
You need that physical proof that the impossible thing has been done.
Because it moves the goal from the realm of fantasy into the realm of logistics.
I love that. The realm of logistics. And what's step three?
Step three is perhaps the hardest, psychologically speaking.
Lay it on me.
You have to boldly claim that vision is yours, which inherently means actively rejecting the default vision others have for you.
Wow, yeah. Arnold had to reject his parents' vision of the farm and the police force.
Society, parents, well-meaning friends, they constantly project a safe, limited vision onto you.
And it's an act of love, usually. They want to keep you safe from failure.
But if it doesn't fit your internal drive, you have to be willing to disappoint them in the short term to save yourself in the long term.
That is so powerful, and the stakes for not doing this are incredibly high.
Arnold notes a staggering statistic about this, actually.
What is it?
74% of Americans hate their jobs.
74%? That is wild.
And it isn't much different globally. The vast majority of people do not like what they're doing for a third of their lives.
And why is that?
Because they aimlessly drifted. They didn't have a goal. They didn't follow a vision.
They just floated along. A job opening appeared. They took it out of necessity.
They got comfortable enough to stay, And suddenly, they are trapped in a reality they never actively chose.
That drifting is literally the definition of existential dread.
It really is. Without a destination, work is just a chore. It is merely survival.
Arnold contrasts that aimless drifting with the mindset of a medical student, right?
Yes, the medical student spends years studying late into the night, enduring grueling hours.
Dealing with incredibly difficult, high-stakes subject matter.
But they know they want to become a doctor. They know exactly where they're going.
Because they have a vision, the intense friction of the studying has a profound purpose.
Exactly. The pain is contextualized.
Which brings up a critical question for our own lives.
Right.
Because having the vision, finding your reg park, deciding you want to be a champion, that is the exciting, romantic part of the process.
That's the movie montage.
Exactly. But how do you actually execute that without getting completely burned out by the sheer, monotonous, unglamorous effort required every single day?
This is the real challenge.
I mean, having a vision of being an award-winning journalist is great, but it doesn't instantly clean up the spilled cereal in my kitchen.
Or write the actual 3,000 words you owe your editor by noon.
Exactly. So how do we transition from the dream to the stark architecture of the reality?
How do you manage the daily execution? This is where Arnold's approach to the daily grind truly separates him from just another guy with a big dream.
During the famous pumping iron days, people would see him in the gym and they honestly thought he was unhinged.
Completely crazy.
He was working out 5 to 6 hours a day, lifting incredibly heavy weights.
But the thing that confused everyone the most wasn't the duration or the volume.
No, it was his demeanor. He always had a massive smile on his face.
It baffled his peers, and understandably so.
I mean, the physical toll of that kind of lifting is immense.
It involves micro-tearing muscle fibers, extreme lactic acid buildup, physical exhaustion.
Intense, brutal repetition. It is, by definition, suffering.
Yet his mindset completely transformed that physical suffering into joy.
But why? How did he do that?
Because every single 500-pound squat, every 500-pound bench press, and every brutal session of 2,000 sit-ups was mathematically connected to his ultimate goal.
He wasn't just lifting a piece of metal.
No, he was literally building the physical steps to the Mr. Universe title.
He knew that rep 1,999 of his sit-ups was 1 micromillimeter closer to standing on that stage in London.
This raises an important question about the underlying psychological mechanism here.
Because it's not just about working hard.
Right. Plenty of people work incredibly hard, exhaust themselves, and remain deeply miserable.
The secret is that he completely reframed the nature of the work itself.
He gamified the grind. He hacked his own dopamine system.
I want to dig into this idea of gamifying the grind, because this is something I use in my own life, especially as a parent and a writer.
Oh, really? Tell me about that.
Well, think about how a video game works. You don't just walk up to the final boss, press a button, and win.
Right, you have to level up.
You have to do hundreds of repetitive, sometimes incredibly annoying tasks to level up your character. You chop digital wood, you fight low-level monsters, you collect digital coins.
And if you were forced to do that in real life for no reason, you'd quit in 5 minutes.
Exactly. It's tedious. But because you know you are leveling up your character's stats to eventually beat the game, you'll happily stay up until 3 a.m. doing it.
You assign profound meaning to the mundane.
Exactly.
That is a perfect illustration of dopamine reward prediction error in neuroscience.
Oh, wow. Dopamine reward prediction error.
Yes. When you play that game, your brain releases dopamine, not just when you achieve the big goal, but when you complete the small steps that you know lead to the big goal.
So you are chemically rewarding yourself for the friction.
Precisely. You are hacking your own neurochemistry.
I use this silly personal example all the time. Getting my kids to eat their vegetables at dinner, or staring at a stubbornly blinking cursor on my screen when I have a massive feature article due and I'm paralyzed by writer's block.
The dreaded blank page.
Yes. I treat those daily obstacles like a goofy boss in a video game.
Okay, tell me more about how that actually works in practice.
Well, the toddler refusing the broccoli isn't a failure of my parenting or a disaster that needs to ruin my evening.
What is it then?
It's just level 4, the green vegetable guardian.
The green vegetable guardian. I love that.
Right. I just have to figure out the right dialogue options or the right diversion tactics to get past him.
And what about the writing?
The blinking cursor isn't a sign that I'm a fraud of a journalist. It's the blank page boss.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Every sentence I force out, even if it's terrible and I have to edit it later, is a hit point against it.
By framing it that way, you emotionally decouple from the frustration.
Exactly. If you know the ultimate prize, a healthy family, a published story, the repetitive, annoying tasks just become the mechanics of the game you actively chose to play.
What's fascinating here is that the psychology of purpose validates your goofy boss analogy entirely.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. When you visualize the goal, the hard work genuinely becomes engaging.
Because the friction you encounter, the writer's block, the toddler's tantrum, the heavy iron plates, isn't a punishment from the universe.
No, it is the literal mechanism of your progress. You
Yeah.
cannot build the muscle without the resistance of the weight tearing the fibers.
You cannot write the article without fighting through the cognitive load of organizing your thoughts on a blank page.
The friction isn't in the way of the path. The friction is the path.
The friction is the path. I need to write that down. And it clearly worked for Arnold.
Oh, incredibly well. By the age of 20, he goes to London and becomes the youngest Mr. Universe in history.
Which is just absurd. And what blows my mind is that he didn't just leave that gamification mindset in the gym.
No, he applied the exact same cognitive framework to politics decades later.
Right, the California gubernatorial race.
Exactly. And just a quick note for the listener, we're looking at this strictly from a methodological standpoint, not endorsing any specific political platform.
Right, we're just analyzing the mechanics of his goal setting.
Because he wasn't born in the U.S., the Constitution barred him from running for president.
So what does he do? He looks at the political landscape, analyzes the scale, and says, okay, governor of California.
Because California is the 5th largest economy in the world.
To him, that was the ultimate achievable pinnacle in American politics.
And people told him he was crazy.
Oh, I'm sure. They told him to run for mayor or city council or state senate.
They said he had no experience, that he'd never make it.
But he viewed the entire political campaign just like a training regimen for Mr. Universe.
The speeches, the debates, the handshaking, those were his new 500-pound squats.
And just 2 months after deciding to run in the recall election, he became the governor.
It's a testament to the framework. So how does the listener, an ordinary person who isn't trying to win Mr. Universe or govern the 5th largest economy in the world, apply this mindset to their daily life?
It's about identifying your own equivalent of the 500-pound squat, right?
Exactly.
For a student, a 500-pound squat might be finishing a massive, intimidating research paper.
It's sitting in the library for 3 hours, aggressively outlining academic sources.
Yes. Or for a parent, maybe the 2,000 sit-ups are managing a tight household budget every Sunday night.
Going through every receipt to make sure the family's financial future is secure.
It is about taking the heavy, unglamorous, often invisible lifting of your specific life and mathematically mapping it directly to your grand vision.
Let's distill this into a list of daily habits for the listener.
Yes, please, because we all know what we should be doing, but doing it consistently without losing your mind is the trick.
Exactly. If you want to reach massive goals, here's how you practically gamify your daily reality. Habit number 1, define today's reps.
Because you absolutely cannot conquer a vague, abstract goal.
I want to be a writer is not a goal. It's a wish.
You have to break the massive vision into tiny, granular, actionable daily tasks.
Right. If your vision is to write a book, your daily rep is writing 500 words before breakfast.
If your goal is to learn a new language to move abroad, your daily rep is completing a 15-minute audio lesson on your commute.
You must know exactly what the physical action is for that day.
Okay, what's habit number 2?
Habit number 2, consciously reframe the friction.
What does that look like in the moment?
When you are in the middle of doing the difficult task, when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. or when your brain hurts from the language app, consciously remind yourself why you are doing it.
Right. When the student is exhausted at midnight, they shouldn't focus on the heavy eyelids.
They should actively visualize the warmth of the sun on their face as they walk across the graduation stage.
You smile, or at least you find satisfaction, because the difficulty is the precise indicator that you are currently moving forward.
And habit number 3, track the game to trigger the dopamine loop.
Keep a visual, physical tally of your reps.
The comedian Jerry Seinfeld famously used a big wall calendar.
Oh, the chain method. I love this.
Yes, for every day he wrote a joke, he put a big red X over that date.
After a few days, you have a chain, and the psychological goal simply becomes, don't break the chain.
Seeing yourself level up provides a neurochemical reward that sustains you when willpower inevitably fades.
You need to physically see the evidence of yourself marching toward your own personal Mr. Universe title.
It creates a feedback loop of undeniable momentum.
You stop being a passive victim of your daily chores and start being the actor architect of your progress.
Exactly.
Okay, so gamifying the work is fantastic when you are alone in the gym or sitting quietly at your desk in your own little bubble.
You are reframing the friction, you are doing the reps, you are checking off the red X's.
But what happens when other people enter your game? What happens when you step out into the real world, you enthusiastically share your grand vision, and people look you right in the eye and tell you that what you are trying to do is completely impossible?
The collision with the naysayers.
Yeah.
This is perhaps the most inevitable and often the most emotionally devastating phase of any ambitious journey.
It really is.
The moment you declare a vision that breaks from the default path, the immune system of the status quo will attack you.
The immune system of the status quo. Wow. And Arnold's approach to this is our second major rule of success.
His rule is incredibly blunt. Don't listen to the naysayers.
He talks about how for everything he ever attempted, leaving Austria, becoming a bodybuilding champion, becoming a leading man in Hollywood, running for governor, the very first thing he heard out of people's mouths was, "That's impossible."
That can't be done, or simply no.
But what is critical here is that he didn't just ignore them.
No, he actively, cognitively translated their words in real time.
When they said, "It can't be done," he processed it as, "It can be done."
When they said no, his brain heard yes.
And when they said, "Impossible," he heard, "It is possible."
He leaned heavily on a philosophy articulated by Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it's done.
Arnold's internal response was simply to declare, "Well, I'm going to be the one to do it," and show it to them.
Right.
As a reporter, I have a very visceral, almost physiological reaction to this.
I can imagine. In journalism, you must hear no all the time.
Constantly. It is the baseline reality of my profession. No comment, no, we won't publish that angle, it's too risky.
No, you absolutely cannot interview that source.
And I'll be honest with you, listener, early in my career, it was crushing.
It takes a toll.
You put your heart and soul into a pitch, you see the vision for the story, and an editor shoots it down with a one-word email. You feel like you've hit a brick wall.
It feels incredibly personal.
So how do we actually rewire our brains? How do we get to a point where hearing the word no doesn't feel like a personal punch to the gut?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of social psychology, we have to deeply understand what the word no actually represents when it comes from society or your peers.
Okay, what does it represent?
When a boss, a friend, or an industry gatekeeper says no to your grand vision, it rarely means that the laws of physics prevent your idea from happening.
Right.
What it actually means is simply that they lack the imagination or the precedent to see it.
Wow. Their no is a boundary marker of their own limitations, not an objective measure of your capability.
Therefore, no is actually a secret sign.
A secret sign of what?
A sign that you are standing on the very frontier of something entirely new.
Oh, that is a massive reframe.
Think about it. If everyone says yes immediately and perfectly agrees that your idea is reasonable and easy, then you aren't innovating.
You are just doing what has already been done 1,000 times.
You're inside the comfort zone of the collective average.
Ignoring naysayers isn't about being arrogant, stubborn, or delusional.
It is about building strong, resilient character and actively protecting your fragile vision from the very real, very heavy limitations of other people's minds.
The no just means you have walked off the edge of their mapped territory.
Exactly.
Let me share another personal example of this, because I think it highlights how we can turn negative feedback into actual usable fuel.
Please do.
I recently wrote a feature article that took a slightly unconventional angle on modern parenting culture.
Oh, that's always a minefield.
It really is. When it was published, I received a comment from a reader that was just brutally, intensely mean.
I'm sorry to hear that.
They tore apart my writing, my parenting style, my logic, my intelligence, everything.
That's awful.
Then, later that same week, I had a fellow parent at the playground indirectly criticize the way I let my kids play in the dirt, heavily implying I was a careless mother.
In the past, how would you have reacted to that double hit of criticism?
Oh, it would have ruined my entire week. I would have spiraled into deep self-doubt. I would have questioned my career, my parenting, my worth.
It's so easy to do that.
I would have spent hours drafting angry replies in my head that I would never actually send. It would have completely derailed my focus.
And how did you process it this time, utilizing this principle?
I used a visualization technique to redirect the physiological response, because when you get criticized, you get an adrenaline spike, your heart rate goes up, you feel hot.
Yes, the fight or flight response.
Instead of letting that physical arousal turn into anxiety, I visualized their words, the mean comment online, the passive-aggressive remark at the park, as literal physical logs of wood.
I mean, I like this.
And I imagined opening the door of a massive roaring furnace, which represents my ambition and my belief in my own values, and throwing those logs straight into the fire.
You're using the energy of their attack to fuel your own engine.
Exactly. Instead of letting the log hit me and bruise me, I used it to make the fire burn hotter.
That's brilliant.
I went home, took all that irritated, jittery energy, sat down at my laptop, and wrote an even better, more deeply researched piece for my next deadline.
You doubled down.
I doubled down on my family values because I realized their intense criticism meant I was actually standing firm on something I genuinely believed in, rather than just writing bland, agreeable fluff that blends in with the crowd.
That is an incredibly powerful cognitive tool. You are taking external negativity, which is usually a highly destructive, paralyzing force,
And alchemizing it into kinetic energy for your own projects.
you take the adrenaline of the insult and apply it to the reps.
Arnold essentially did the exact same thing, didn't he?
When society told him it was impossible to be a champion or a politician, he didn't waste his time or his breath arguing with them.
He didn't try to rationally convince the naysayers with PowerPoint presentations.
He just took their doubt, threw it in his furnace, and used it to power his next 5-hour gym session.
Which brings up a great piece of practical advice for the listener.
Let's hear it.
When your boss shoots down your presentation in a meeting, or a teacher says your project is too ambitious,
Or a friend calls your business idea stupid.
you do not have to engage in a debate. You don't have to defend yourself out loud.
As Arnold said, you just look at them, smile, and say in your own mind, what do you know?
You keep the power internal.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
protect your mental energy. You have a finite amount of cognitive bandwidth every day.
You do not leak it by trying to convert someone who is deeply committed to misunderstanding your vision.
That is so well said.
But I want to push on this a little because this is where the conversation gets really complex.
Okay, where are we going?
It's one thing when naysayers attack your ideas. You can throw that in the furnace. An idea is external to you.
Right.
But often, the naysayers don't just attack the idea, they attack you.
Yes.
They attack your personal traits, your background, your physical appearance, your voice, your perceived inherent weaknesses.
It becomes deeply personal.
How do you handle it when the no isn't about what you want to do, but about who you fundamentally are?
This is where we uncover what I think is the most profound, counterintuitive lesson in Arnold's entire philosophy. We call it the Conan principle.
The Conan principle. Let's trace his transition into Hollywood, because it perfectly illustrates this.
He conquers bodybuilding and then decides he wants to be a leading man in American movies.
So what does he do? He applies that exact same gamified work ethic.
He spends 5 to 6 hours a day taking acting classes, studying English, and taking intense accent removal classes.
He is working all day long, doing the reps, trying to mold himself into a traditional, acceptable actor.
And his initial attempt met with the exact kind of humiliating failure the naysayers had gleefully predicted.
His first movie was a film called Hercules in New York.
And as he bluntly puts it, it went right into the toilet.
It was a complete flop. They even dubbed over his voice because his accent was so thick.
The Hollywood establishment looked at this massive Austrian man with an unpronounceable last name and an un-American accent and said, "You are unsellable.
Your body is a freakish liability. Your voice is a liability.
You will never be a leading man." They told him to play bouncers or Nazi villains.
But the crucial point is that the failure and the personal rejection didn't discourage him.
He didn't quit and go back to Austria. He kept his vision intact.
He kept doing the reps. He landed small roles in Streets of San Francisco, Stay Hungry, Pumping Iron, and The Villain.
He stayed in the game, enduring the friction.
And then came the ultimate vindication.
Dino De Laurentiis at Universal Studios asked him to star in a sword and sorcery epic called Conan the Barbarian.
The movie came out in the summer of 1982 and was a massive, global #1 box office hit.
But listen to what the director John Milius said to the press during the promotional tour.
Oh, I love this quote.
He said, "If we wouldn't have had Arnold, we would have had to build one."
That quote is incredible. The very body that Hollywood executives told him was grotesque, unsellable, and a massive liability just a few years prior.
Suddenly became an irreplaceable, unique asset.
And it didn't stop there, right?
No. A few years later, he films The Terminator.
Director James Cameron is speaking to the press, and he explicitly states that if Arnold didn't have that specific, rigid Austrian accent and didn't naturally talk like a machine, the movie wouldn't have worked.
The exact accent that Arnold spent hours every day in classes trying to scrub away became his signature billion-dollar asset.
The irony here is just staggering. Arnold goes to school to literally erase a perceived flaw.
He thinks, to be successful, I have to be like everyone else. I have to sound like an American leading man, like Robert Redford or Al Pacino.
But in the end, it was the exact trait he tried to remove that made him a global icon.
It is a stunning reversal of conventional wisdom.
But let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, hit me.
Is this just a massive case of survivorship bias?
Interesting. How so?
We look back at Arnold and say, wow, his accent and size were his superpowers. But maybe he just got incredibly lucky that 1980s action movies, which favored huge guys with catchphrases, suddenly became popular.
So he just surfed the cultural wave.
Right. If the culture hadn't shifted, wouldn't he have just been an out-of-work actor with an accent?
That is a very fair critique, but it misses the dynamic nature of market creation.
Market creation.
Survivorship bias implies he was a passive lottery ticket winner who just happened to hold the right numbers when the culture changed.
But he wasn't passive.
Exactly. Arnold didn't wait for the culture to change. He was an active force in changing it.
His sheer persistence and undeniable screen presence helped create the market for the 1980s action hero.
He didn't just fit into a pre-existing hole. He carved a new hole in the landscape.
I see this dynamic constantly, even on a micro level in my own house.
Tell me about that.
Well, as a parent, sometimes the trait that drives me absolutely craziest in my kids is their sheer stubbornness.
Oh, kids can be relentlessly stubborn.
Right. My toddler will dig his heels in over the color of his cup or the exact way his sandwich is cut, and I just want to pull my hair out.
You just want him to comply for 5 minutes.
Exactly. I think this is a massive character flaw. I need to train this defiance out of him so he can function in society.
But then what happens?
Then I take a step back and I realize that exact same stubbornness, that intense refusal to yield to external pressure, is the exact trait that will make him a great leader or an investigative journalist or a resilient adult one day.
The flaw is just a superpower in the wrong context.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it.
What we are seeing here is that persistent, unrelenting effort doesn't just improve your skills.
Over time, it literally alters the environment around you until your perceived weaknesses are recognized as unique personal strengths.
Hollywood didn't want a massive Austrian with a thick accent for normal, everyday roles. So what did Arnold do?
He stayed true to his vision with such force that he created a new reality.
A reality where only a massive Austrian with a thick accent could play Conan and the Terminator.
He bent the industry to fit his traits, rather than bending his traits to fit the industry.
That is the Conan principle in a nutshell. You don't shrink yourself to fit the existing molds.
You grow so large and so undeniable that they have to build entirely new molds just for you.
I want to challenge the listener right now.
Listen up, everyone.
Think about the things in your own life that you've been told are liabilities.
Have teachers told you that you are too energetic and need to sit still and focus?
Has a boss told you in a performance review that you are too detail-oriented and you get bogged down in the minutia?
Have friends told you that you are too quiet or too intense?
We spend so much time, energy, and even money trying to take metaphorical accent removal classes for our personalities.
We try to round off our sharp edges so we don't bother anyone. We want to be smooth and frictionless.
Exactly. But if you stay true to your vision and you refuse to drift, those exact traits, the hyperenergy, the obsession with detail, the quiet observation, the intimidating intensity, become the unique assets that differentiate you from the 74% of people who are just aimlessly drifting.
The world is full of well-rounded, perfectly pleasant people who fit perfectly into normal, interchangeable jobs.
The people who break the mold are the ones who weaponize their quirks.
Weaponize your quirks. I love that phrasing. We have covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really have.
And I want to make sure we bring all these complex threads together for the listener before I have to get back to writing my article and dodging those plastic dinosaur toys in the kitchen.
Let's run through this summary.
First, we established that to stop drifting through a life or a career you hate, you absolutely need a blueprint.
You have to actively look outside your daily bubble. Expose yourself to new ideas.
Find your personal reg park to prove your wild idea is physically possible, and boldly claim a vision that is yours, explicitly rejecting the safe defaults society offers you.
Second, to actually reach that massive destination without burning out, You have to gamify the daily grind.
You cannot rely on raw willpower. It depletes way too fast.
You have to break the big goal into small daily tasks. Intentionally reframe the friction of your daily life by remembering your why and track your progress so your brain gets that vital dopamine hit of seeing yourself level up.
Third, you have to fundamentally change your relationship with rejection.
When the naysayers tell you it's impossible, or when people leave mean comments on your work or criticize your parenting, you do not let it penetrate your armor.
You understand that their no just means you are pioneering new ground. You take their doubt, you visualize it as fuel, and you throw it into the furnace of your ambition to power your journey.
And finally, you embrace the Conan principle.
You recognize that the very things people mock you for, the traits you might be desperately trying to hide, fix, or apologize for, are often the exact unique assets that will make you indispensable once you carve out the right arena.
I want you, the listener, to deploy this mindset starting tomorrow morning.
When your alarm goes off, define your reps for the day. What is your 500-pound squat?
When the friction hits, and it absolutely will hit, smile at it. Track the game.
And let the mean comments burn in the furnace.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final lingering question to mull over on your own.
Ooh, leave them with something to think about.
We've talked deeply about Arnold's accent and the traits you try to hide. Consider that one specific thing you spend so much time trying to fix or remove about yourself, just like he tried to remove his Austrian accent.
What if you stop trying to fix it?
What if, instead of constantly changing yourself to fit the world, you start looking for the specific movie, the specific path, the specific career, the specific relationship, where that exact trait makes you the only person in the world who can play the leading role?
What a place to leave it. The path forward might be steep, the naysayers might be loud, and your kitchen floor might currently be covered in spilled milk, but you have the blueprint now.
The rest is just doing the reps.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today. Keep smiling through the friction, and we will catch you on the next one.